Now, by the way, folks, in this deal that opened the government and whatever else the hell the deal did, whatever it stopped, I don't even know. There's another super committee in this deal, and this super committee is supposed to come up with a new way to negotiate a real budget. The super committee back in 2011 was supposed to come up with another budget that had real cuts in it, and if it didn't, sequestration would kick in. The super committee in 2011 didn't do anything. They never do. And so sequestration kicked in. Sequestration, don't forget, was an Obama idea. It's something Obama doesn't want to claim credit for, but it was his idea. He believed that the Republicans would never, ever allow the Defense Department to experience such large cuts, and they didn't blink. And so the sequester kicked in. And this deal now contains another super committee that's supposed to, now get this, come up with a way to negotiate a real budget. We already have that way. It's called you sit down and talk. What do you mean a new way to come up with a real budget? And it's in there to address the complaint that the Democrats never produce or allow a real budget. But nothing's going to come of this. As long as Obama's president, there's not going to be a budget. Well, they might do one if they win the House, 2014. But they're not going to spell out their policy agenda in a budget before 2014 and lose. They're not going to do that. Now, I can summarize without reading Beinart's whole piece, but I'm still going to read excerpts. I can summarize it for you. He's upset over really one thing, and that is that in all of this, the Republicans managed to slow the increase in spending via the sequester. And this deal didn't kill the sequester. And so in the liberal world, the world's still upside down. And that's why Beinart is saying, what do you mean Republicans lost? They instituted some spending cuts in 2011, and we haven't got rid of them. And so the Republicans on policy are not losing. Now, the cuts are minuscule, I understand, but they still are cuts, maybe even reductions in the rates of growth. But this sequester ticks the Democrats off like you can't believe, and they weren't able to get rid of it. So right now, agenda item number 1 is going to be killing the sequester along with amnesty. Those are the two things that are going to tick up here. But let me continue reading some excerpts of this. I read the paragraph where he explained how the sequester happened back in 2011. Fast forward to the beginning of this year. Despite months of negotiations, a super committee failed to reach an agreement. So this March, automatic sequester cuts kicked in. If Democrats disliked the 2011 Budget Control Act, they disliked its bastard stepchild, the sequester, even more. Republicans, being less supportive of federal spending on things like education, energy, and medical research, were more supportive of the sequester. Indeed, as recently as last month, Republican leaders described locking in the sequester cuts via a clean, continuing resolution that extended them into 2014 as a major victory. In a memo to fellow Republicans on September 6, Eric Cantor boasted that by signing a continuing resolution at sequester levels, the president would be endorsing a level of spending that wipes away, this is key. Cantor sent this memo out, and he bragged in it, by signing a continuing resolution at sequester levels, the president would be endorsing a level of spending that wipes away all the increases he and the Democrats made while they were in charge and returns us to a pre-2008 level of discretionary spending. And that lowers the baseline. And lowering the baseline is blasphemy. And the Republicans have, whether they intended to, and I think they did because they held firm on this, this is, in the real world, folks, This is a real victory. And the Republicans were not talked out of the sequester. And then Beinart writes, most of the press is missing this because most of the press is covering the current standoff more as politics than policy. If your basic question is which party is winning, that's easy. The Republicans are losing. They're the ones suffering in the polls. But the partisan balance of power and the ideological balance of power are two completely different things. And in this situation, the Republicans are winning. And then he details here the following. Despite overwhelming public support, gun control is dead. Comprehensive immigration reform, once considered the politically easy part of Obama's second term, looks unlikely. And the other items Obama trumpeted in his State of the Union, climate change, infrastructure, universal preschool, voting rights protections, a boost in the minimum wage, have largely been forgotten. Exactly the point I've been making the last 2 weeks. Sorry to yell. Obama's agenda has been stalled. And that's because the Republicans held firm in the sequester and Ted Cruz and Mike Lee. Now, I'm up against it on time, but I will be glad to answer any questions you have about this because there's more to explain. Sit tight, my friends. We'll be back and continue after this. Well, wait a minute, Rush. Wait a minute. What about, didn't the sequester spending a new $1 trillion, didn't that raise the baseline? Yeah, it did, but the sequester took it back down below 2009, and they can't do anything to change that with continuing resolutions, which is why they're going to be targeting the sequester to be gotten rid of next. All will be made clear. If you hang in there, be tough.